Hi, it's Rob from the Brush and Boltgun. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to paint a Raptors chapter badge. So the first colour that we're going to use is Vallejo White. I'm going to use this to do just the whole of the chapter badge shape. Now you don't need to worry about too much of the details on the outer edge or the eye or the little feathers on the bottom right hand corner. Apologies for a little bit of camera wobble there. As I was saying, you don't really need to worry about the details like the eye and the little feathers on the bottom right hand corner of the chapter badge. The main thing that you want to do is just get that outline on there basically. So the top of its head's pretty flat, so you want to put that flat line going right the way across the top there. Then you've got a slight kink where it goes down onto a slightly lower level where it goes onto the beak. Now there's quite a rough outline of the beak. When you look at it, it doesn't look too much like that, but we come back and we tweak that to get it looking the right shape. Now at the top of it here, it has like a little bit of a feathery thing poking out the top right hand side. And then you have this slightly curved out section ending in a little tuft at the bottom where you have those feathers. So as I say, we're not painting the feathers on straight away, we paint the bulk of the shape in white. And then we can come back using a little bit of olive drab and paint those feathers into place by basically using the olive drab to cut out the triangles between the feathers. So now we're working on that beak, getting that into roughly the right shape. As always, you want to try and drag the paint away from the point if you can. Sometimes you'll see me going side to side on and filling up the colour. That's not too bad. It doesn't do your brush any favours, but if you just block filling a colour, it doesn't really matter if you're going side to side. If you're trying to do the detail, you always want to be dragging the brush away from the point in a downward stroke, and that will help keep the point of the brush. So this part here is curling round to go down to the bottom left corner of the chapter badge. This then curls up a little bit, not too much, just a little bit of a curve to that, and then comes back out where you'd have these feathers. Now I'll start putting the feathers in, but I end up painting it all white and just a big block because at the end of the day I'm going to be cutting those out with the green. What you can do is what I'm doing here is I'm roughly planning where those feathers are going to be. So by doing it the way I did there, you realise there's not enough space to put the 4 in, so I have to rejig how I'm going to paint them and where I'm going to put those markings in the lines to show where the feathers are going to be. Now once you've got the basic outline and the bulk of that painted white, you can start looking at it next to the chapter badge and seeing which areas maybe need to be bulked out or thickened up or thinned, or what sections need to be changed slightly, like this beak needed a little bit of tweaking, and then this little top feathery bit. And once you've finished the whole thing, what you can do is come back with the olive drab or the highlighting colours that you've got and just straighten off those edges to the chapter badge so that they're nice crisp edges rather than being maybe slightly fluffy where a bit of paint is spread onto the green. And that is the basic outline finished. Now I'm going to go back to the Vallejo olive drab or US olive drab, and we're just going to pick out the eye there. Now the eye is a little triangle, looks a bit like a Transformer's eye, with sort of like slightly shorter diagonal downwards on one side and then a slightly longer diagonal upwards back up to the flat top of the eye. And once you've put that in place, as long as you've got the rough outline of where the eye is, you can then touch that up with a bit of white in a moment, because it's probably going to be easier to put a slightly bigger eye in place and then use the white to drag straight lines to make those white sections around the eye perfectly straight, rather than having maybe a slight angle or curve to it or anything like that, because you've been trying to fit the olive drab in there. So we are now going back to the white, and we are just going to touch up around the eye. We're also going to touch up these feathers down the bottom too. Once again, if you do happen to make the feathers slightly wonky, or you make one too long or too short or too fat or too thin, you can just go back with a little bit of olive drab and touch that up. You can do that indefinitely until you've got it to the way you want it to look, because once you've got the basic shape of the chapter badge there, if you're just tweaking one corner of it, it doesn't really matter too much how many times you do it. You can just work on that section until you're happy with it. You can see here using a tiny little bit of olive drab just to straighten up the edge of that, and straighten up the top of the head like so. This is just to get any of those kind of fluffy edges where it's not perfectly straight, and get them smoothed off like so. And that is the finished Raptors chapter badge. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content. Also, think about subscribing to some of our other social media linked below. Thanks very much. If you like the channel and you enjoy the content and you'd like to support us, feel free to follow the link to our Ko-fi page below where you can buy us a brew. Thanks very much.